Hi, it's Alex from Android Central, and this is the Samsung Galaxy Mega. The Galaxy Mega is a gigantic 6.3-inch phone from Samsung that sits between traditional smartphones like the Galaxy S4 and traditional tablets like the Galaxy Tab 3 range. For that reason, it looks like what it is, a massive oversized Samsung phone. So it's got a huge screen, but you can also make calls on it, and it supports 4G LTE data. Let's start with a quick size comparison. The Galaxy Mega dwarfs just about every other phone out there, including the S4, which is by no means a small device. In fact, there are only a couple of other bigger phones out there, Sony's Xperia Z Ultra at 6.4 inches, and the ridiculous Asus Pad phone at 7 inches, which is really more tablet than phone. Take a look at the external hardware, it's almost an exact match of the Galaxy S4, right down to the pattern around the screen, the faux metal trim, and the location of all the ports and buttons, and the slightly protruding camera around the back. Its back is glossy plastic, which isn't the best feeling material in the world, but it does at least feel relatively sturdy. Behind the battery door, things start to look a bit different. The SD card and micro SIM card are stacked on top of each other, which is a bit unusual, but it works. And we've got a suitably massive 3200 mAh battery under here. We'll have more on battery life in our full review, but the fact that it's got such a huge battery is probably a good sign. The screen is a 720p LCD panel, and it's reasonably good. The colours aren't quite as vivid as some of Samsung's Super AMOLED screens, but it's very bright, easily visible in direct sunlight, and has great viewing angles. The main drawback is probably the resolution. 720p over 6.3 inches isn't as sharp as some rival devices, but at the same time it's far from bad. On the inside we've got a 1.7 GHz dual-core Snapdragon 400 powering the Mega, with 1.5 GB of RAM and an Adreno 305 GPU. That's the same as the Galaxy S4 Mini, and the chip's proven itself again on the Galaxy Mega. It's perfectly capable of delivering smooth performance in the UI and fast app load times. It's also no slouch when it comes to gaming, and of course games are a great way to take advantage of the 6.3-inch screen. But the limited internal storage means that you won't be able to install too many titles, which leads us on to our next point. There's 8 gigs of internal storage, of which only 4.6 or so are actually available. Again, it's another Samsung phone with a small amount of usable internal storage, although at least you've got the option to expand that with a microSD card. Unfortunately though, there's no option to move apps to the SD card in the current Galaxy Mega firmware. On the software side, the Mega runs Android 4.2.2 Jelly Bean and the latest Samsung TouchWiz software, and the feature set is getting pretty familiar by now. You don't get everything from the Galaxy S4, but you do get a lot. All the basic TouchWiz apps, new apps like S-Travel and Group Play. You're missing the air gesture features, but you do get AirView, the hover touch stuff that's included in the GS4. There's no smart pause in the video player, but you do get the basic eye tracking capabilities through Smart Stay, which periodically checks to see if you're still there and shuts off the screen if you're not. There's also a front-mounted IR blaster, which hooks into the built-in Watch On app. That's something that's becoming increasingly common. The Mega has an 8-megapixel rear camera that can take some impressive photos. We'd say it about matches the capabilities of the Galaxy S3 or Note 2, and you also get a 1080p video recording. The camera hardware is backed up by Galaxy Camera-inspired camera app, which itself has a ton of shooting modes and various image enhancement features. In terms of usability, obviously a device like this isn't going to be for everyone because of the size, and unless you have gigantic hands, it's going to be a struggle to use this thing one-handed. But the fact that the bezels are so small, and the overall shape is pretty ergonomic, means that it's comfortable to palm with one hand and use with the other. It's more reasonable and certainly more pocketable than something like the phone pad, and that's actually where I think its strength lies. So if I were to buy a Galaxy Mega, it would be to use as a tiny LTE tablet rather than a giant phone. I think most people would find such an unapologetically huge phone pretty awkward to use as their only device, so it makes more sense as a kind of companion to a traditional smartphone in the same way that a tablet might fill that role. Anyway, we're going to put the Galaxy Mega through its paces in the next few days, and we'll have a full review written up soon. Until then, thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.